It's the final we were all expecting at Wimbledon, a repeat of the Roland Garros final. It is the best player in the world, the number one, Jannik Sinner versus Carlos Alcaraz, the guy who keeps beating Jannik Sinner. It's the final for the ages. The last one was an epic. This is the preview of this Wimbledon final.
That's right, JG. It's the big one. We both predicted it in the draw preview. Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner, the two best players on tour, without a doubt, going head-to-head in a Grand Slam final. And if it's anything like the Roland Garros final, we are in for a treat, let me tell you. Well, I've got to give some thoughts about yesterday. We're obviously going to go through the Djokovic loss to Jannik Sinner. We're going to go through Carlos Alcaraz's win against Taylor Fritz. And then we're going to be giving our thoughts on the final matchup and our predictions on how we see it going and who is going to win. But let's start off, JG. I know you put out a post-match reaction after Djokovic versus Sinner yesterday. But I think that's where we have to start, because Djokovic, he's been in every single final since, I think, 2018. And now he will not be in the final because Jannik Sinner just seems to keep on beating him. And Novak Djokovic's body, it seems, is telling him maybe he cannot compete with Jannik Sinner.
Well, this is a good place to start. I've said my thoughts yesterday. I'm interested to hear yours. And the question I want to start with, is this the end of Novak Djokovic? Because when I mean that, of course, right now, you could argue he's the third best player in the world. Not many people would disagree with that statement. He can still beat most players on the tour. But I don't think third place is very good for someone like a Novak Djokovic. Is he interested in getting to semi-finals, getting more career money, getting some points to win this or win a 500 or win maybe the odd Masters here and there? I don't think so. He's already said his main motivation is to win Grand Slams. Can he win Grand Slams? And if he can't win Grand Slams, does that mean the end is near for Novak Djokovic?
I think it's a brilliant question. And I would say, if he cannot win Grand Slams, I think the main thing is if he has to play Jannik Sinner at a Grand Slam, more so than Carlos Alcaraz, because we've seen him beat Carlos Alcaraz at the Australian Open earlier this year. If his body isn't in exact prime condition when he comes into that match, then I don't think he beats either of them at the moment. That's the problem. Obviously, people are going to say, oh, he beat Alcaraz while he was injured at the Australian Open. I think the later it goes now, if we go another year, the more there's going to be more problems with the body. And it's so hard to stay free of injury. He played Jannik Sinner at Roland Garros free of injury. And he looked fantastic, Novak Djokovic. But Jannik Sinner just better. The movement's better. Like the power's more. Like everything that Djokovic probably used to be, Jannik Sinner is now. And that's the problem when you come up against these young players. And he said it, that he just can't. You could see how deflated he was in that match. He knew his level was not going to be enough to beat Jannik Sinner. And you saw it just
his body language.
Yeah, the body language changed. And I don't...
Early doors as well.
I don't hate on him for that, because I think when you play on a tennis court, and this is only low level from someone like me playing, when you know that you're just not at the same level as your opponent, it can be very demoralizing, especially if you know you can play better like Djokovic. You know that movement is one of the key things in tennis. And if your movement is compromised and you're not at 100% being his age, you're not ever going to be able to compete with someone who moves with the speed and glides around the court like Jannik Sinner. It's just impossible. He's the number one player in the world. And the same would be said for when we saw last year's final in Wimbledon against Carlos. Djokovic, yeah, you say, oh, he came back from like a knee problem and stuff. Yeah, but you can't play these players with problems in your body. You can beat everybody else on the tour. You won't beat those two players if you're not fully fit. And I think him staying fully fit now, he said it in the post-match presser. it's not that easy anymore. He's come to the realization that there's always a problem. There's always something wrong. There's always a part of his body which is slowing him down. And I'm not sure, unless Carlos and Jannik go out of the slam before he would meet them in the slam, I don't think he'll win a slam again.
Yeah, which seems very unlikely at the moment that both of them will go out early. I mean, it seems unlikely that they're both not going to meet in any finals coming up. Of course, matches can happen. Grigor Dimitrov, let's be honest, had Sinner beat, and it was very, very close to Sinner being out of this tournament. And then that would have been a whole different perspective. I mean, we could see most likely Djokovic in another Grand Slam final. You said towards the start of this Wimbledon that Djokovic's maybe last chance to win a Grand Slam would be now. Do you still stand on that? Do you think he has the chance to win another Grand Slam, or do you think this was his best chance, his last chance, and it's only going to get, that was the top, it's only going to start declining every single time he plays, it's going to get less and less likely?
Yeah, I would agree with that now. This was the one surface that it was sort of, we didn't really know. Obviously, people are going to look to the match before and they're going to say, come on, if he didn't slip or if he didn't and he didn't do, it looked like he injured himself at the end of the last match, but you don't know what's going to happen in the next slam. You don't know what knocks he's going to pick. I feel that he's only going to get older and we're only going to see a more gradual decline. And don't forget, these players in Sinner and Alcaraz, they're getting better. They're not going to stay on the same level each time they play him. They get even better. And I think that the one thing which was, I'm not going to say it's that amusing, but a little bit amusing, was Jannik Sinner has obviously come out and said, when he lost to Djokovic at Wimbledon the first time, obviously he got beaten from 2-0 up. Then the next time he played Djokovic, he actually said, oh, it's actually a closer match. I lost in straight sets, but I played a lot better in that second match. And Djokovic, he went to him and Djokovic told him pretty much how he beat him. And he said, you're too predictable. He said, I can predict what you're about to do, essentially. And that's how I'm able to beat you all the time. And he said, if you're going to improve, you need to become less predictable. And he went away with his coaches. He became less predictable, and now Djokovic can't touch him on a tennis court, it seems, for the last 5 times, which it's insane to think there's only one other person has done it 5 times in a row against Djokovic, and it is Rafael Nadal, a small club, but an elite one. That's what happens if you tell someone the tricks. They're going to come back and it's going to bite you in the ass. And Djokovic, unfortunately, he could have kept that to himself. He could have just said, oh, no, just keep going the way you're going. But Djokovic always gives a bit back to the next generation. And unfortunately for him, he's giving it back to somebody who's probably at the detriment of him winning more slams.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to speak about Jannik Sinner because we know that I picked him pre-tournament. You picked Carlos Alcaraz. We still have that narrative running for the final. And I feel like I need to be on Jannik's team for this episode. So
again,
he has reached 4 consecutive Grand Slam finals. The US Open, Australian Open 25, Roland Garros 25, Wimbledon 25. Pretty impressive. Yeah. He's also the second youngest man to reach the final of all 4 Grand Slams in the Open era. Something Carlos Alcaraz hasn't been able to do. Courier, Sinner, Nadal, Agassi, Federer, 23 years old. What a list of players he has just joined. And when you look at Carlos Alcaraz as well, because I will big him up as well.
Yeah.
The amount of slams he's already won, what is it, 5 slams or something?
Yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it?
He's also on a trajectory of the big 3, if not a little bit in front of them. So I feel like what we're now witnessing is 2 players who are from that big 3 build, and they're going in that direction. Of course, long way to go. I still feel like we've not seen the best of Carlos Alcaraz. Jannik Sinner, we are seeing some of his best, but I think Carlos Alcaraz has even more to give and even more to improve, and could ultimately end up being the better of the two players who wins more Grand Slams. I've always said I think Alcaraz will end his career with more slams than Sinner, and I just don't see anything else right now. Of course, we never know if a Fonseca or someone else is going to join this list, but right now it just seems like them two. And Sinner, statistically, I want people to know this. He is there with a Carlos Alcaraz, and he is there tracking, getting close to what the big three were able to do back then. So look at this. Since 1995, only 5 men have made it to the final of every Grand Slam. And there we go. Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, Murray, and Sinner.
Yeah. We were sort of waiting for the moment that Jannik Sinner would become a Wimbledon finalist. I think that was the one we thought was going to happen probably before Carlos. Remember when we were at Wimbledon 2022? He beat up Carlos on the court at Wimbledon. That should be noted coming into this matchup. Obviously, both players have improved since then.
I mean, it was quite close. I feel like you're being harsh.
Yeah, but it was a convincing win, though. I think that it didn't come down to the wire and in the 5th set or anything. He beat him. It didn't require 5 sets. And Carlos learned a lot from that. And his grass games come on leaps and bounds. Obviously, after he went out in 2022, he won it the next 2 years running. So he's improved his grass court game tenfold. But I think the one thing that he's improved is more his mentality in big matches. And that's one thing that we will discuss when we come to all the predictions and all of that. But I think we should speak about, it was quite a close semi-final against Taylor Fritz, really. If we're being honest, I think we've got to give Taylor Fritz some credit because he did sort of bottle it in that 4th set, but this was a lot closer than a lot of people saw this match going. There were some people picking Fritz to win the match in some of the pundits, like on TV.
Who?
I can't remember who it was. Someone picked it. I saw it on Twitter, but
I didn't see anyone picking Fritz.
There was one person. It was an American shock.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, there was one pick for Taylor Fritz. But the fact he had set points and he was up in that 4th set, and the fact he was able to get a set early, Alcaraz did win in 4, which I did predict, which was great for my bracket, and for my predictions. But Taylor Fritz, yeah, the mental side of the game is the toughest thing at the top level. And it's one thing that he's going to have to get better at if he's going to try and really compete with someone like a Sinner or an Alcaraz. Djokovic, he can compete mentally with these players. It's now his body that's letting him down. Who's next to fit into the equation? Because at the moment we've only got 2, and it seems like every single slam final will be these 2 until somebody else steps up. I mean, I'm not going to complain because I'll take it every single slam if we get these 2 in the final. But they're just mentality monsters, these 2. And if the craziest thing is that Dimitrov match, I mean, I can't believe that happened and we've still got Jannik Sinner in the final. It's pretty crazy, this Wimbledon.
Yeah, it is crazy. And Carlos, he just needs to get to an Australian Open final, and then he can say that he's got to all of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy how he's struggling with the Australian Open. Jannik Sinner's on 3 Grand Slams. I was having a little look. Carlos Alcaraz on the 5, like I said. If Sinner is to win this one, then he's only 1 slam behind. It's crazy how close they are with the slam race early doors, and they're racking them up already. Amazing the fact that they've got 8 slams between them, soon to be 9, probably going to be 10 come the US Open, the way things are going. But yeah, this final, like you're saying, it is billed to be a classic. The bookmakers have Carlos Alcaraz as a marginal favourite to Jannik Sinner. Alcaraz has beaten him, the last 4 times they've played, is it?
I think it's 5 times.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 times. Indian Wells as well. And then a Roland Garros in there, a Rome, another Roland Garros, a Beijing as well. So on the different surfaces. They've not played on grass for a while. Probably, when was Wimbledon. The last time? Was it the one where Sinner beat him?
Yep. Yeah, this one's an interesting statistic as well, because if we're talking about the next generation coming through, the big players of a generation, Alcaraz and Sinner will be the first pair to face each other in a Roland Garros and Wimbledon final in the same year since Federer Nadal 2008. And I think we don't even need to tell you which match that was at Wimbledon. Probably, well, some say the best match of all time. Yeah. So we've just pretty much had one of the other best matches of all time in Roland Garros final history. It was insane. If we get that at Wimbledon as well, are they going to start eclipsing these Nadal Federer matches? It's weird that there's all these comparisons, but they're lining up so neatly, aren't they?
No, it really is. And the final is going to be a little bit later to maximize the amount of people worldwide who can watch it. Historically, the Wimbledon finals have been around 2:00. This year's at 4:00. Well, scheduled, of course, depending on the doubles final before how long that one goes. And it is a difficult one to call. As much as I am in Jannik Sinner's camp, if he does win, I beat you on the bracket, meaning I keep that run going. Carlos Alcaraz is maybe a smidge of a favourite, but I see it as a really close match. And yeah, for that reason alone, I think everyone's going to be tuning into it. I wouldn't be surprised if it does extremely good numbers with the TV channels, and everyone's going to be tuning in at this new allotted slot of 4 p.m. to a match where you just really can't call it. I think Sinner has a chance on the grass, maybe more than the other surfaces, because as much as his movement is not as good as Carlos Alcaraz on grass, his serving, you could probably say, aside from Djokovic, is probably the best. And you got to remember, it's not just pace. We see him Pechi Pericard, Shelton, thundering down all these aces and big serves. Djokovic, he's did quite a few good aces as well, but so Sinner's too.
Yep.
But Sinner's placement and the way the ball toss never changes. You don't really know where he's going to put it. He finds so many lines with the serve, and there's a lot of variety in the pace, and it's a brilliant serve. And I think tactically, his tennis brain is the best on tour without a doubt. I think tennis brain-wise, I prefer him in a matchup to Carlos Alcaraz. I think he's able to adjust in real time, and he's got a real good tennis computer, like a Novak Djokovic does when he plays. And with the serve, I think that leads. It starts with that, and then from there, you can see his backhands. He just can put it exactly wherever he needs to on the court. With Carlos, he can go. The highs and the lows are a lot more evident. We'll see him play ridiculous tennis and then some weird tennis for a bit. Sinner's base level will always be at a 7 or an 8. He doesn't really falter too much below that. Sometimes there's a bit of a wobble here and there, but not like Carlos does. But Carlos's movement for me is the best. Plus, his ability to disguise the drop shots, no one can do it. His drop shots is a different realm altogether, and Sinner's fast and he will get to quite a few of them, but I don't think anyone can compete with the pace of a Carlos Alcaraz and then a drop shot from nowhere. Jannik Sinner will have to sit there and applaud some of them, because there's no one in the world who can stop Carlos when he's feeling that ball like he does. He's got it on a piece of string. He can put it, he can just drop him over the net wherever he wants to. It's a real talent, and I'm looking forward to see how Jannik Sinner deals with them drop shots.
Definitely. There's so many elements to this final, which I think after watching the semi-final, it sort of highlighted to me sort of both of those points that you actually pointed out, really, which is the word I think I would use for Jannik Sinner is efficiency. And the way that everything he does is very efficient. Like you say, the ball toss always in the same place. Like every shot that he does, it's like very mechanically perfect, so that everything is giving himself the best opportunity to hit the next shot, and everything is working as sort of a fine-tuned machine. With Carlos, I think he's a big moment, like mentality monster. That's where he comes to life in the big moments. We saw at Roland Garros, 3 championship points down, what does he do? Go into a shell and lose? No, he comes out bigger, stronger, wins the points, and then goes on and takes the match by the scruff of the neck and just essentially I wouldn't say bullied Jannik Sinner, but in those moments, it felt a little bit like that. Like Sinner went a little bit into his shell, should have gone bigger, but it was Carlos who rose to the occasion. That's what makes this match so interesting. I like what Gil Gross said here about the semi-final. He said Alcaraz won 4 points in a row to take that tiebreak from 6-4 down. And here's how those points started. A Fritz first serve. That's crazy. Fritz is one of the best servers on grass. Fritz, a perfect return off the baseline. And then a Fritz, great return, hard and deep. I remember Alcaraz had to sort of half volley it to keep it going.
Yeah,
and then
during, I remember we was on the phone while we was watching this how it all played out.
Insane. Like this is what I say about big moment mentality monster is Carlos Alcaraz, because when you have those type of shots coming at you, he finds a way to stay in a rally until his moment comes, and then he just fires big winners.
Jannik Sinner's not bad either. I mean,
they're both bad either.
They both do win the big points in the big matches.
But I mean,
against big moments.
Against those two, yeah, there's mentality monsters at levels, but when they come together, that's where I think this match gets interesting, because then it's who is the biggest monster in that moment. And
Alcaraz has proved it's him.
Exactly. Right, and that could be the factor which gets him over the line again. But you don't know. It's tough to say.
Well, I'm glad you've said that, because we've got a good quote what sort of leads on nicely from that. And Alcaraz was asked, do you feel like you go into the match against Jannik with a mental advantage after the comeback in Paris? And his answer was, not at all, to be honest. What Jannik has is because he learned from everything, like the huge champion he is, from the losses, from the matches he's playing. He just gets better after every match and every day. I'm pretty sure he's going to take a lot of things from the French Open final. He's going to be better physically and mentally. He's going to be prepared on Sunday to give his 100%. I'm not thinking I have an advantage mentally because of that match. And that may just be him sort of relieving the pressure slightly. But I don't think it is. I genuinely believe him. I think he understands and appreciates how close they are, and it's fine margins. And as much as you can, and this is what frustrates me sometimes listening to people, I'm glad we have a podcast in which I can provide an opinion to this. And that is that everyone always thinks that whoever wins the match is the person with the bigger mentality, and they've proven that they're slightly above the other. Sometimes it just comes down to fine margins and a little bit of luck. Scrap the whole mentality thing. It's fine margins tennis. And there's always going to be a winner and a loser. It doesn't mean that the loser lacked the mentality to beat the person who won and they've got a better mentality instantly. Sometimes it's just the way it goes, and someone's going to have to lose this match. And you need to always put that into perspective when you talk about it, because it's not always as black and white sport. And that's what everyone likes to always make it. And you see it in football all the time. When we had that final of, the Europa League with Manchester United and Tottenham, two terrible teams. terrible teams. They had a really bad season. They get to the final. Spurs win, heroes. Man United lose, terrible. If it was the other way around, it's completely changed. Like, Man United would have been heroes. Now they're struggling to sign players in the market. Tottenham, they're spending loads of money. Everything's great for them. And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily that much of a better team or a bigger mentality. It's just a bit of luck, a little deflection in the box, goal went in, and that's it. And that's sometimes all it takes in sport. And it doesn't mean that there's that much difference sometimes between either in that situation the two teams, or in this situation the two players.
Quite possibly. I mean, that was one of the worst finals I think anyone's ever watched ever. Hopefully that's not going to this final's not going to emulate that final. I'm pretty certain they're going to raise their level pretty high, and we're going to be seeing just some crazy rallies. I think the way that last final was, we're in for a treat no matter what between these two. I feel sometimes the build up to matches is even better than some of the matches themselves, you could say. But with these two, I don't think that is the case. The build up to Roland Garros was so excited about it, and you thought, will the match live up to it? Yeah, it was just even better than anyone could have ever envisaged. This one's even bigger still, I think, because right now they've only played once at Wimbledon before. Jannik Sinner won that match. Carlos is going for 3 times Wimbledon champion, 3 back-to-back Wimbledons, this is a crazy thing for anybody to win 3 Wimbledons in their entire career. I was even having a look earlier on at this. Like, don't forget, if he wins this, he overtakes Andy Murray instantly. It's becoming more times Wimbledon champion at such a young age. He'll overtake who else? Rafael Nadal, Stefan Edberg, Jimmy Connors, all of these legends. He will have won more Wimbledon titles than all of them already in his career. Put that into perspective of what this kid is doing. And like you said earlier, 6th career major final, 3rd straight Wimbledon final, 24 match win streak overall, 20 match win streak at Wimbledon. This is just insane.
Yeah, it really is. And something funny about Wimbledon, which is happening right now, is a few years ago they banned Russian players, and then Yelena Rybakina went on to win from Kazakhstan. This year, you've got 2 players who sort of last year or even this year served some suspensions due to failed drug tests in Iga and Jannik Sinner. And both of them could be winning Wimbledon as well. So Wimbledon, whatever they want to paint themselves to be, I feel it's always going to just turn on its head. And there could be a lovely photo between Iga, Sinner, and Wimbledon. Maybe you'll have the Queen down there as well, or the King. Yeah. And 2 players who failed drugs tests. I mean, some people will look at that and say it's a really bad image for the sport. But I would like to sit on the side that Jannik Sinner's had a tough time, and there was no misintent with anything he did.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually listening to an interview with Nick Kyrgios. Somebody sort of, when you talk about that, you have to bring up the conversation of him talking about Sinner. And well, Kyrgios did actually say that he says Sinner will have a better career than Carlos. That's what his belief is. He says, I'll say Sinner because Alcaraz loves girls. He might get distracted. He might party too much. Sinner will stay a bit locked in, I think. But I'm surprised that he's even going down this route of singing any praises. Before, we wouldn't have even heard anything good about Jannik Sinner from Nick Kyrgios. So he's changed his tune a little bit. Maybe it's just he's trying to get a bit more punditry, a few more jobs in that realm, because I don't think.
Well, he's got a job with TNT. He's going to be doing some alternate commentary, which is quite fascinating considering we did something similar for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did say that he was surprised that he's even going on Sinner's camp. But I disagree with him anyway. I think Carlos Alcaraz could end up with more Grand Slams than Jannik Sinner. Something I want to share with you is that Jannik Sinner is now guaranteed to stay world number 1 through to Cincinnati. Oh, wow. That would mean that he locks in 62 weeks at the top. If he wins tomorrow, he'll remain number 1 through to the US Open. So that would be 65 consecutive weeks.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. There are the live rankings for anybody who's interested. And you can see there currently Jannik Sinner with 11,330 and Carlos 8,600.
He's gained a lot of points, Sinner, hasn't he? Just from this Wimbledon.
Yeah, exactly. You could see. I mean, obviously, you could get up to 9,300. Carlos, if he wins the whole thing, could close the gap a little bit. I thought this was quite funny. This tweet somebody put out saying the only player to beat Alcaraz and Sinner at Wimbledon is Daniil Medvedev, and there's a little picture of him. Didn't have a particularly good Wimbledon this year, and I think that he's probably in a little bit of a transitional phase in his career. But will we ever see him come back to the top of the sport challenging these two? If we do, probably only on a hard court, but he needs to change a lot of stuff in his in his arsenal. I think he hasn't evolved really at all in the last few years, and the others have, and that's why we've seen Medvedev slide down the rankings. But let's move back to these two. That one I just thought I'd just throw in just for good measure.
Quickly with Daniel Medvedev, we always thought that he could do some things, but I don't think now he can, because he's part of that lost generation slightly, in the sense of he's had a great career, brilliant player. He may be able to win a few things here and there, but I'm looking at the likes of Mensik, Fonseca, and other players, maybe Cobolis, anyone else, that they could do some damage into the Sinner Alcaraz relationship, or players I've not even just mentioned, someone who just becomes really good all of a sudden. Whereas the Tsitsipas's, Zverevs, the Medvedevs, Hachanovs, not so sure.
Yeah, I think the lost gen is the perfect thing to be saying about this little group, and let's focus on this new gen, who are the current gen. They're the best gen right now, and Sinner, won't he become? Is this going to be the first Italian? Should he win it? I mean, that's another thing. Every time Sinner completes anything these days, he's the first Italian to do everything in tennis. So
yeah, that's the difference, because Carlos Alcaraz had Rafael Nadal, who'd have won everything already. I mean, if there's another Serbian wonder kid what comes through, he's never going to break any Serbian records ever. But Jannik Sinner, he has the chance to break all the Italian records, because there's not that many champions before him.
Exactly.
So on that basis, let's give our predictions, and I'll let you go first.
That's it. I'll take you through this tweet before we start. So, the best matchup in tennis. Carlos leads the head-to-head 8-4, winning the last 5, it should be noted. And he also won their only meeting in a Grand Slam final, Roland Garros. Jannik hasn't beaten him in a tour level match since 2023. Obviously, only the Six Kings Slam he beat him in, but won $4 million in the process. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to go back to the picture, and then I'm just going to give you my thoughts on how it's going to play out. I think my personal opinion on how they've both been playing, it looks like Jannik Sinner will start better. Jannik Sinner will take the first set in this final.
He didn't against Grigor.
Yeah, but the conditions, I think if the conditions are back to how it was then, I think they did play a factor, and there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, stop, he just was getting beaten by the better player. He was beaten by the better player who was playing better in those conditions. If there's no wind,
were those conditions?
Very windy, and there was a lot of, he didn't adjust to it well at all. So then that was why everybody was causing the problems when they're like, oh, they're closing the roof to help Sinner, because he can't handle the wind, all this type of thing. Well, I don't think over the next few days it's just going to be about 33 degrees in London. It's going to be hot. Don't think it's going to be that windy. I think the conditions are going to be fine. So
and Darren Cahill did say that Jannik Sinner loves the heat, and that's why he performs very well in Australia.
Well, there you go. And performs well on very fast courts as well. Should be noted.
Which the heat helps with. So he likes the heat. So he's hoping for a very hot Sunday in London.
As we're talking about the heat, then let's just bring up, I don't know that it's very British of me to do this, but let's bring up the weather report and then we can have a look. What is the weather like on Sunday? So you can see the weather today is 30 and all sun. Tomorrow, a little bit of cloud, but 28. So pretty warm still. A little bit cooler though.
Yeah. There's not so much blaring sun. You can see at 4 o'clock when they start. But I don't think it's going to change too much. A few degrees here and there. And I'll let you finish your prediction.
Yeah. First set to Sinner. So that's why I see it going. I think that Carlos will win the second set. I think Jannik Sinner will win the third. And I'm not going to go too long on my prediction, but I think that we are seeing 5 sets again. We are going to 5. With these two, it is prime time. And I think it's going to happen again. I think Carlos Alcaraz is going to do it again. And Jannik Sinner is going to be left sat on that chair, like bemused of how he's lost in 5 in a slam final, just months after the Roland Garros one.
But he's not going to go 2 sets up this time, Jannik Sinner, for you.
He's not gonna go 2 sets up, and he's not gonna have championship points in this one.
Okay, so you're going for Carlos Alcaraz in 5. I think to do set predictions and go for each round with these two is ridiculous. I don't think it's even possible to do. So I'm going to just cut to the chase and get towards the end with what I have. I don't know which way it's going to go in terms of who wins which set. And if anyone claims to know they do, then they're lying to you, because this is such a difficult match to call. I'm going to have Jannik Sinner winning the match in 4 sets. I think if it does go 5, Alcaraz will win. And I think Sinner's record in 5 sets is nowhere near as good. So I am thinking that Sinner, his best chance of winning is either 3 or 4. And I'm having Jannik Sinner winning the match in 4 sets.
There you go. There you have it. Should be noted, Carlos Alcaraz never lost a slam final that he's played in, and Jannik Sinner was just only points away from never losing one. But his only loss comes to Carlos Alcaraz. But make sure to tell us your predictions in that comment section below. We want to hear everybody's predictions. We're going to be going through all of them in the comments, and we'll be bringing our reactions after the final as well. Tell us which team you're on. Team Carlos, Team Jannik. Come on. I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm all the way for the Italian. Forza Jannik. Let's do it. Let's win number 4 and your first Wimbledon title. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you very soon.